Hare Krishna.
दस साल से ज्यादा 10 साल से ज्यादा हो गया, अभी तक नहीं बना। देखिए कितने लोग जुड़े हैं, कितने लोग
सबसे पूरी मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
इंद्रियां क्या चाहती? मन जैसा उसको ऑर्डर देता है, वैसे इंद्रियां कार्य करती है।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नर चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome. So, yes,
Hari
what
Maharaj.
we had done is that we had completed till 24th shloka, right? Just give me a minute, okay?
क्या हो बोले सुनो
So, from the 20, so we just discussed yesterday what was the mercy given to Putana. And now from the 25th shloka onwards, we'll be seeing that what are the pastimes in Vraja. So, let me share the screen with you all. Yeah. So very nice this shloka is. Vasudevasya devakyam jato bhojendra bandhane chikirishu bhagavanasya shama jena vicha viyachitaha. Sushil Prabhu, please read this translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna. Mataji. Translation: The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, being prayed to by Brahma to bring welfare to the earth, was begotten by Vasudeva in the home of his wife Devaki in the prison of the king of Bhoja. Purport: Although there is no difference between the Lord's pastimes of appearance and disappearance, the devotees of the Lord do not generally discuss the subject matter of his disappearance. Vidura inquired indirectly from Uddhava about the incident of the Lord's disappearance by asking him to relate Krishna Katha or topics on the history of Lord Krishna. Thus, Uddhava began the topics from very beginning of his appearance as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison of Kamsa, the king of the Bhojas at Mathura. The Lord has no business in this world, but when he is so requested by devotees like Brahma, he descends to the earth for the welfare of the entire universe. This is stated in Bhagavad-gītā 4.8, Paritrana sadhana vinashaya chadushkitam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavani yuga yuga. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna. So this is like a very nice shloka where the Supreme Lord is being prayed by Lord Brahma, and when he's being prayed, so he's saying that please bring welfare to this earth. And though over here Srila Prabhupada is saying that there's no difference between the Lord's pastime, his appearance and disappearance, and the devotees of the Lord do not generally discuss the subject matter of his disappearance. And nobody would like to also discuss this matter of his disappearance also. But Vidura is indirectly inquiring. So, because when Krishna was born in the womb of Devaki to Vasudeva in the prison of Kamsa, then Krishna desired to give happiness to this earth, at the request of Brahma. So now, in order to answer Vidura's question, Uddhava had to tell him about the disappearance of Krishna. And now he's attempting to explain that sad pastime along with a joyous pastime also. So he was born in the prison, where he's saying over here is Bandhane. And then Bandhane of whom? Bandhane of Kamsa. And then he desired to give happiness also. he desired to do welfare, Shama also. So that's how he desired, that's how, he desired to give happiness to the earth at the request of Lord Brahma. So that is what is being said over here. Let's check the next. Tato nanda vrajam ita pitra kamsad vibhi bhayatah ekadasha samastra sastra gudharchi sabalo avasata. Bindu Mataji, please read translation and purport both.
Thereafter, his father Devi,
Mataji, if your volume is very low, you'll have to remove your earplugs and maybe speak. Very low volume, we cannot hear you. Very low. No, Mataji, I think you're very much away from your instrument, from your mobile.
Now it's okay.
No, Mataji, still very volume is low.
Okay, is this understand?
Because in fact, we're not able to hear you only, just there is some voice coming from your end, that's it. Do you have earplugs? So have you plugged into that earplugs? So then remove it and come very close to your instrument or your mobile. No, not able to hear you, Mataji. Okay, I'll just ask somebody else to read, Mataji, no problem. Thereafter, his father, being afraid of Kamsa, brought him to the cow pastures of Maharaj Nanda, and there he lived for 11 years like a covered flame with his elder brother Baldev. There was no necessity of the Lord's being dispatched to the house of Nanda Maharaj out of fear of Kamsa's determination to kill him as soon as he appeared. It is the business of the Asuras to try to kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead or to prove by all means that there is no God or that Krishna is an ordinary human being and not God. Lord Krishna is not affected by such determination of men of Kamsa's class, but in order to play the role of a child, he agreed to be carried by his father to the cow pastures of Nanda Maharaj because Vasudev was afraid of Kamsa. Nanda Maharaj was due to receive him as his child, and Yashodamai was also to enjoy the childhood pastime of the Lord. And therefore, to fulfill everyone's desire, he was carried from Mathura to Vrindavan just after his appearance in the prison house of Kamsa. He lived there for 11 years and completed all his fascinating pastimes of childhood, boyhood, and adolescence with his elder brother Lord Baldev. His first expansion, Vasudev thought of protecting Kamsa from the wrath of Kamsa in part of a transit is part of a transcendental relationship. The Lord enjoys most when someone takes him as a subordinate son who needs the protection of a father than he does when someone accepts him as a supreme Lord. He is the father of everyone, he protects everyone, but when his devotees take it for granted that the Lord is to be protected by the Lord, by the devotee's care, it is a transcendental joy for the Lord. Thus, when Vasudev, out of fear of Kamsa, carried him to Vrindavan, the Lord enjoyed it. Otherwise, he had no fear from Kamsa or anyone else. So, Krishna's father Vasudeva was afraid of Kamsa and he brought him to Vraja. And for 11 years, he lived over there. So, he was born by his father to Vraja and he lived for 11 years. And because Krishna covered his qualities as the Supreme Lord with his sweetness, And that is why nobody could recognize him as such. So let's see the next. So here he says that Parito vatsa parer vatsams charyan vyaharad vibhu yamuno pavane kunjat dvija sankulitangripe. He says that in his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves, and thus he traveled on the shore of the Yamuna River, through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. Nanda Maharaj was a landholder for King Kamsa, but because by caste he was a Vaishnava, a member of the mercantile and agricultural community, he maintained thousands of cows. It is the duty of the Vaishyas to give protection to the cow, just as the Kshatriyas are to give protection to the human beings. Because the Lord was a child, he was put in charge of the cows with his cowherd boys. These cowherd boys were great rishis and yogis in their previous birth, and after many such pious births, they gained the association of the Lord and could play with him on equal terms. Such cowherd boys never cared to know who Krishna was, but they played with him as the most intimate and lovable friend. They were so fond of the Lord that at night they would only think of the next morning when they would be able to meet the Lord and go together to the forest for cow herding. The forests on the shore of the Yamuna are all beautiful gardens full of trees of mango, jackfruit, apple, guavas, oranges, grapes, berries, palm fruit, and so many other plants and fragrant flowers. And because the forest was on the bank of the Yamuna, naturally there were ducks, cranes, and peacocks on the branches of the trees. All these trees and birds and beasts were pious living entities born in the transcendental abode of Vrindavan just to give pleasure to the Lord and his eternal associates, the cowherd boys. While playing like a small child with his associates, the Lord killed many demons, including Agasur, Bakasur, Pralamasur, and Gardhabasur. Although he appeared at Vrindavan just as a boy, he was actually like the covered flames of a fire. As a small particle of fire can kindle a great fire with fuel, so the Lord killed all these great demons, beginning from his babyhood in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The land of Vrindavan, the Lord's childhood playground, still remains today, and anyone who visits these places enjoys the same transcendental bliss. Although the Lord is not physically visible to our imperfect eyes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended this land of the Lord as identical with the Lord and therefore worshipable by the devotees. This instruction is taken up especially by the followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And because the land is identical with the Lord, devotees like Uddhava and Vidura visited these places 5,000 years ago in order to have direct contact with the Lord, visible or not visible. Thousands of devotees of the Lord are still wandering in these sacred places of Vrindavan, and all of them are preparing themselves to go back home, back to Godhead. So, this is nice verse. Prabhupada is giving a elaborate explanation that the forest trees, filled with birds. So, in this 28th shloka, he says that Kaumarim darshayashteshtam prekshaniyasavrajokasam rudan iva hasan mugdha bala simhavapalokan lokana. Sushil Prabhu, please read this.
Krishna Mataji, now it is audible, now?
Yes, Mataji. Read. Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, read from here. When the Lord displayed his activities. Hare Krishna. Madhavi, we are not able to hear you. You muted yourself actually. Bindu Mataji, you've muted yourself again. Bindu Mataji?
Yeah, Mataji. Hare Krishna. When the Lord displayed his activities just suitable for childhood, he was visible only to the residents of Vrindavan. Sometimes he would cry and sometimes laugh, just like a child, and while so doing, he would appear like a lion's cub puppet. If any
Yeah.
puppet, if anyone wants to enjoy the childhood pastimes of the Lord, then he has to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Vraja like Nanda, Upananda, and other paternal inhabitants. Has my Mataji, one second. Yeah, now okay. A child may insist on having something and cry like anything to get it, disturbing the whole neighborhood, and then immediately after achieving the desired things he loves. Such crying and laughing is enjoyable to the parents and elderly members of the family. So the Lord would simultaneously cry and laugh in this way and merge his devotees' parents into the humor of a transcendental pleasure. These incidents are enjoyable only by the residents of Vraja, like Nanda Maharaj, and not by the impersonalist worshippers of Brahman or Paramatma. Sometimes when attacked in the forest by demons, Krishna would appear struck with wonders, but he looked on them like the cub of a lion and killed them. This childhood companion would also be struck with wonder, and when they came back home, they would narrate the story to the parents, and everyone would appreciate the qualities of their Krishna. Child Krishna did not belong only to his parents, Nanda and Yashoda. He was the son of all the elderly inhabitants of Vrindavan and the friend of all contemporary boys and girls. Everyone loved Krishna. He was the life and soul of everyone, including the animals, the cows, and the calves. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. So, Krishna, displayed, crying like a child without, the typical symptoms of tears. Rudan Iva. So, crying just like a child. He was not crying exactly. And then in front of these elderly women, he would seem to cry, stubbornly asking for things that should be, given to him. And then when he got them, then he would smile and he would laugh. So, and when all these, fierce demons came to Braja, Krishna appeared just like a young lion who, though afraid of, these fierce animals in the forest, he threatens them by showing his bravery. Pala Simha. And that is why. And this is causing a great anxiety in his parents who had so much of affection for him. So, this is what is being said over here. Next. Sa eva godhanam lakshmaya niketam sita govrusham charayan anugan gopan ranadve nunura riratamataha. Sushil Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna. Translation: while herding the very beautiful bulls, the Lord, who was the reservoir of all opulence and fortune, used to blow his flute, and thus he enlivened his faithful followers, the cowherd boys. Purport: As he grew to 6 and 7 years old, the Lord was given charge of looking after the cows and bulls in the grazing grounds. He was the son of a well-to-do landholder who owned hundreds and thousands of cows, and according to Vedic economics, one is considered to be a rich man by the strength of his store of grains and cows. With only those two things, cows and grain, humanity can solve its eating problem. Human society needs only sufficient grain and sufficient cows to solve its economic problem. All other things, but these two are artificial necessities created by the man to kill his valuable life at the human level and waste his time in things which are not needed. Lord Krishna, as the teacher of human society, personally showed by his acts that the mercantile community or the Vaishyas should herd cows and bulls and thus give protection to the valuable animals. According to Smriti regulation, the cow is the mother and bull is the father of the human being. The cow is the mother because as one sucks the breast of one's mother, human society takes cow's milk. Similarly, the bull is the father of human society because the father earns for the children just as the bull tills the ground to produce food grains. Human society will kill its spirit of life by killing the father and the mother. It is mentioned herein that the beautiful cows and bulls were of various checkered colors red, black, green, yellow, ash, etc. And because of their colors and healthy smiling features, the atmosphere was enlivening. Over and above all, the Lord used to play his celebrated flute. The sound vibrated by his flute would give his friends such transcendental pleasure that they would forget all the talks of Brahmananda, which is so praised by the impersonalists. These coward words, as will be explained by Sukdev Goswami, where coward boys were living entities who had accumulated heaps of pious acts and thus were enjoying with the Lord in person and were hearing his transcendental flute. Brahma Samhita 5.30 confirmed the Lord's blowing his transcendental flute. Motherji, will you kindly read this?
Yeah,
First thought.
Prabhuji. Venum Kwanant Arvinda Dalaya Taksham Barhavatam Sam Asitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakotika Maniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Thank you, Mother. Brahmaji said, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who plays on his transcendental flute. His eyes are like lotus flowers. He is decorated with peacock plums, and his bodily colors resembles a fresh black cloud. Although his bodily features are more beautiful than millions of cupids, these are the special features of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So here he's saying that sometime later he gave up even herding the calves, and while herding a wealth of cows who were the abode of beauty, and these cows were white, blue, green, yellow, gray, with their white bulls. He played with these cowherd boys. So this is what is being said. And then ahead he says, Parayuktan bhojarajena mayina kama rupinam leelaya vyanudatam stan balah kridana kana ivaha. Oh. The great wizards who were able to assume any form were engaged by the king of Bhoja, Kamsa, to kill Kṛṣṇa. But in the course of his pastimes, the Lord killed them as easily as the child breaks the dolls. Yeah, Rupa Mataji, please read the purport. Rupa Mataji, you can read the purport.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. The atheist Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna just after his birth. He failed to do so, but later on he got information that Krishna was living in Vrindavana at the house of Nanda Maharaja. He therefore engaged many wizards who could perform wonderful acts and assume any form they liked. All of them appeared before the child lord in various forms like Aga, Baka, Putana, Sakata, Trinavarta, Denuka, and Garbha, and they tried to kill the Lord at every opportunity. But one after another, all of them were killed by the Lord as if he were only playing with dolls. Children play with toy lions, elephants, boars, and many similar dolls, which are broken by the children in the course of their playing with them. Before the Almighty Lord, any powerful living being is just like a toy line in the hands of a playing child. No one can excel God in any capacity, and therefore no one can be equal to or greater than him, nor can anyone attain the stage of equality with God by any kind of endeavor. Jnana, Yoga, and Bhakti are three recognized processes of spiritual realization. The perfection of such processes can lead one to the desired goal of life in spiritual value. But that does not mean that one can attain a perfection equal to the Lord's by such endeavors. The Lord is the Lord at every stage. When he was playing just like a child on the lap of his mother Yashoda Devi, or just like a cowherd boy with his transcendental friends, he continued to remain God without the slightest diminution of his six opulences. Thus, he is always unrevealed. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, in this particular shloka, he killed many demons sent by Kansa, as if the demons were just like toys, and those lions made up of leaves. That is being said over here. Then he says that Vipannam Vishapanena Nikruhya Bhujagadipam Uthapaya Payad Gavas Tat Toyam Prakrute Stitam. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were perplexed by great difficulties because a certain portion of the Yamuna was poisoned by the chief of the reptiles, Kalya. The Lord chastised the snake king within the water and drove him away. And after coming out of the river, he caused the cows to drink the water and proved that the water was again in its natural state. Then further he says that Ayajayad go sevena Goparajam Twijottamam Vittasya Chorubharasya Chikirishana Sadvyayam Vibhu. Yeah, Rupa Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna. The Supreme Lord Krishna desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaja Nanda for worship of the cows, and also he wanted to give a lesson to Indra, the king of heaven. Thus he advised his father to perform worship of Go, or the pasteurizing land, and the cows with the help of learned Brahmanas. Purport. Since he is the teacher of everyone, the Lord also taught his father Nanda Maharaja. Nanda Maharaja was a well-to-do landholder and owner of many cows, and as was the custom, he used to perform yearly worship of Indra, the king of heaven, with great opulence. This worship of demigods by the general populace is also advised in the Vedic literature just so people can accept the superior power of the Lord. The demigods are servants of the Lord deputed to look after the management of various activities of universal affairs. Therefore, it is advised in the Vedic scriptures that one should perform yajnas to appease the demigods, but one who is devoted to the Supreme Lord has no need to appease the demigods. Worship of demigods by the common people is an arrangement for acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, but it is not necessary. Such appeasement is generally recommended for material gains only. As we have already discussed in the second canto of this literature, One who admits the supremacy of Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to worship the secondary demigods. Sometimes, being worshipped and adored by less intelligent living beings, the demigods become puffed up with power and forget the supremacy of the Lord. This happened when Lord Krishna was present in the universe, and thus the Lord wanted to give a lesson to the king of heaven, Indra. He therefore asked Maharajananda to stop the sacrifice offered to Indra and to use the money properly by performing a ceremony worshipping the cows and the pasteurizing ground on the hill of Govardhana. By this act, Lord Krishna taught human society, as he has instructed in the Bhagavad-gītā also, that one should worship the Supreme Lord by all acts and by all their results. That will bring about the desired success. The Vaishyas are specifically advised to give protection to the cows and their pasturing ground or agricultural land instead of squandering their hard earned money. That will satisfy the Lord. The perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one's community, or one's nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Mataji, what are they saying about this Vaishyas? I read, but I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, Mataji, they actually Vaishyas, no? So from 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. So 4 Varnas is Vaishya is the mercantile community. And in those times, these Vaishyas, no, they will give protection to the cows, and they basically used to deal in farming and cow protection and agriculture and all. So say that instead of squandering their hard money, then they were, it is better that they give advice. So they actually protect the cows and their land that was there, and that is will only satisfy the Lord. And the perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one's community, or one nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied. So, out of the 4 ashramas and the 4 varnas also, in the Bhagavad-gītā also it is said, Mataji, that one should actually perform one's duty, occupational duty, and is prescribed duty. And that is what will make the Lord satisfied. So if a Vaishya starts acting like a Shudra, or he starts acting like a Kshatriya, then, he's going against his nature. So, but if the Vaishya is, doing nice cow protection, and he's, tilling the land, and, he's having a good agricultural land, and the Lord is pleased with him, because by that particular thing he is serving the other 3 sections of the society, that is the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and the Shudras. Because if he'll not grow only anything in the agricultural land, then how is it possible? And that is why, all these 4 sections of the society, they would worship the Supreme Lord, and they would offer their results to the Supreme Lord. And that is only the real success of anybody. That, for example, I am earning something, and then I'm offering it to Kṛṣṇa. So a part of it, my earning, I give it to Kṛṣṇa, or for the mission of the Supreme Lord. So that's how these, that's how the Lord is also pleased. And that's how whatever we are earning, then we form it as a habit that, okay, Kṛṣṇa is the supreme enjoyer, is the supreme proprietor. And this all Lakshmi or money belongs to the Supreme Lord. This is what actually is being said over here, Mataji. So he's saying over here.
Mataji, I had a question. So does that mean that because Vaishyas, they are the protectors of the cows or business, to run the business and all? So for them, is it okay to worship the demigods to get that kind of money, or for them to run those business? And
no, they don't need to actually worship the demigods at all. This is what Krishna said in the Govardhan Puja. That You offer everything to the Supreme Lord because it is exactly like watering the roots. You don't have to water the branches and the leaves differently. When you're watering root, when you're worshipping Krishna, which is like a root, then all the others are automatically satisfied. That is why you see today is actually Ganesh Chaturthi, and most of this part of Pune, they're worshipping Lord Ganesha. But what we ISKCON people do, we worship Lord Krishna only and pay obeisances to Lord Ganesha, and we glorify Ganesha for his good qualities. He has been a very important person in writing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, sorry, Mahabharat, not Bhagavatam. Mahabharat was spoken by Vedavyas, but written by Lord Ganesha. And very efficiently he has written, and it was not like that he just wrote, it was dictated and he wrote. No, he understood and he wrote. And that's how the Mahabharata was also, written by Lord Ganesha. So very intelligent demigod he is. And he also has got a benediction that he is able to take away all the inauspiciousness from a particular person's life. And the same benediction even Lord Nrsimha gives. So there is one picture, if you see, where on the head of Ganesha, Lord Nrsimha Dev's lotus feet are there. And that's how he is getting his power from. So all these demigods are getting power from Lord Nrsimha Dev. So the Supreme Lord, you can say. So that is how he becomes Vigna Harta. Any Vigna you have, then you can pray. So, but what can we pray to Lord Ganesha today? We can pray that, okay, please engage me in the loving devotion service of the Supreme Lord and let me worship the Supreme Lord birth after birth. Even if I don't remember in that lifetime, please help me to remember. And what is best for me, you do that only. So I think yesterday also I was saying this only. I don't know in which class I was saying that if somebody wants to ask a benediction to the demigods, only this benediction we should ask. The devotees especially should ask that what is best for me, you do that only. What is the best person, the best path, the best mantra, you just give me that only. And the demigods also know what is best. So because we have that desire for the best, then they will give us also the best because their master is also the bestest of all. So they will definitely grant us the boon. Like I remember in my family, we used to follow every Monday, my mummy used to take us to Lord Shiva's temple and Durga's temple. And, we had in that one temple, we had 7, 8 demigods. And every demigod, I used to always go and say, that, see, I don't know you, but because there was this Radha Krishna also, Murti you can say, not Arja Vigraha, but there was a Murti, and I used to always say that, see, I like you very much. But I don't know all these. I know all your childhood pastimes. I know everything about you. So because I know you, I love you. And to these demigods, I used to always actually pray, though I didn't know. As a child, I used to never know what to pray also to the demigods. But I used to say that I like Radha Krishna and I want to be faithful to only Radha Krishna. This is right from my childhood when my mother used to take us. And I never had any inclination. Okay, if my mother used to say, okay, please pour water and milk on Lord Shiva, I used to pour. Because being obedient children to our parents, is okay, whatever they say, we'll do it. But in the inner heart, I used to always, whatever I wanted to speak, whatever I wanted to open my heart to, I used to always open it to Radha Krishna in that particular temple. So eventually, as we grew up, I saw that, these demigods only, they led us to actually Lord Krishna, because demigods saw that inclination that, okay, this particular Jivatma is more inclined towards the Supreme Lord. So, demigod worship, if you're obliged, to your family members, then you can just to make them happy, you can do it. But in the inner core of the heart, we should know that only Krishna is the Supreme. And he is only the Supreme Master, the Supreme Person whom I have to worship. That way, Mataji. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Masterji, I was in that assumption, but here when they say something about Vaishya, I thought like it's something different for them, so that's why I raised this question.
Okay. Varshatendriya vraja kopad bhagna mane atithi bavlah gotra leela patrena trato bhadrano grihnahatnatah. O sober Vidura, King Indra, his honor having been insulted, poured water incessantly on Vrindavan. And thus the inhabitants of Vraja and the land of cows were greatly distressed. But the compassionate Lord saved them from danger with his pastime umbrella, the Govardhan hill. So we are concluding with this chapter. He says that Sharachasi karer mristam manayan rajani mukham gayan kalapadam reme strina mandala mandana. So he says that in the third season of the year, the Lord enjoyed as the central beauty of the assembly of women by attracting them with his pleasing songs in an autumn night brightened by moonshine. Before leaving the land of cows, Vrindavan, the Lord pleased his young girl friends, the transcendental gopis, in his Ras Leela pastimes. Here, Uddhava stops his description of the Lord's activities. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the third canto, second chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. So, with that, we actually come to the end of this particular chapter. And then the next chapter says about the Lord's pastimes out of Vrindavan. These were all his Vrindavan pastimes. And now, the pastimes outside of Raja will be said, that where did he get educated, and then how he got married, and how he killed Kamsa, and how he killed so many demons, and how the Kurukshetra war happened, and how in Dwarka he's living in full opulences, and then those events which lead to the annihilation of the Yadus. So this whole chapter will be about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. And what we'll do is we'll actually start this tomorrow, so that we can give some justice to this chapter also. Because very nicely his education and his marriage have been discussed, how he killed so many demons, and a little about Kurukshetra war also will be there in a couple of shlokas. So very nice. Somebody else has any questions, queries, doubt? Priyanka, you joined just now? I didn't see you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, I joined little late, like 15 minutes back.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah.
So we'll continue with this chapter tomorrow. Rupa Mataji, again your children's school has started.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
I thought so. That schools have started, and that's how you're a little,